Are you a medical or business professional worried about financial scams, phishing scams, or investment scams? They're targeting you and me. So, in this week's episode, we're going to talk about how to protect your money and your accounts. You've worked really hard for it, so let's spend a few minutes learning how to protect it.
Hi, I'd like to start today by saying that there's a lot of good people out there doing a lot of good things. You're probably one of them. But there are some bad actors out there doing some really bad things. And today we're going to talk about some of these top financial scams that you need to know about now and how can we avoid them. So I think we can all see these days that with the innovation of technology, that scammers have found new ways to deceive people. Okay, this is not a comprehensive list, but these are scams that are coming up daily. Let's talk to these a bit. So we've got phishing scams, we've got investment scams, we've got identity theft, lottery and prize scams, charity scams, and tech support scams. We're going to go into some detail on each of these just so that we understand what they are and what's happening in the world. Okay, it's not a comprehensive list, but these are the ones that are coming up all the time. So a phishing scam, what is a phishing scam? Well, a phishing scam is fraudulent attempts to steal sensitive information by posing as trustworthy entities and messages. So we spell phishing there with a PH, but it's really phishing with an F because they're phishing. They're throwing their line out there and they're trying to get you to bite. Okay. And so you get a lot of emails. A lot of us are in a hurry. We're not necessarily looking at the details, but we want to check those. And one of the main things that I do when I'm getting all of these emails, especially things that look like they're coming from some sort of Chase credit card or tech support or something like that, is look at the address that it's coming from. And you can click on that little arrow where the email is coming from. And while it may look good, when it drops down, you're going to see funny letters, funny names. Could even be that just one letter is missing from the name, which means they bought the domain. They're sending the emails from them. The next one here on the list, we're talking about investment scams. Investment scams, fake investment opportunities, providing high returns, and money is stolen by the fraudsters. So I always say here, if it looks too good to be true, then it may not be true. It could be true, but you really need to check it out. Again, look and see who is that coming from. Is there some homework that you can do on this that's going to make you feel more comfortable with whatever this is? But by all means, if you get an email and it's something that looks like some sort of investment thing and it looks great and they're saying, you've got 24 hours or 48 hours, be very, very wary. There shouldn't be any time limits. If it's from somebody that you've never heard of, something that you don't know of, without doing your homework, don't do it. Okay. The next one here, big one, huge right now, is identity theft. So identity theft is illegally obtaining and using someone's personal information for financial gain. Okay, this can happen by intercepting your bank accounts. This can happen by intercepting your credit card numbers. And when we talk about identity theft, and we talk about people intercepting your credit cards, what I would say is that what you want to do is say once a quarter minimum is you're looking at your bank statements, you're looking at your credit card statements, and you're seeing, is there anything that doesn't look right on there? It doesn't have to be for a large amount. So keep your eyes out, because one of the things that these fraudsters do is they will push a smaller charge through before they push a bigger charge through. And they may do that for a couple months. They may make that look like a subscription. And then all of a sudden there's something big, like you bought a course or something for several $100s. So I have this happen on one of my cards at least once a year. It's kind of a pain. I usually catch it pretty quick. The credit card companies want you to catch that quickly. They are responsible to cover that if you report it within a certain period of time. Each company works a little bit different. But the idea here is that if I catch it and I call their fraud department, they are going to shut down my card. They're going to ask me some other questions, ask about other charges that happened around maybe the same dates, but they're going to shut down that card and then they're going to send me a new card. So when you do this, if everything in your life is on one card, you're going to get to set it all up again. But it's worth it, because once they've got that number, there's no telling what they're going to do, right? They could charge up to the max that you have on that card. And so that's a bad thing. Okay, so moving on, we've got lottery and prize scams. So this is false claims of winning a lottery or prize. Victims pay fees or give personal information. So here's the question. If you won a prize or a lottery, should it cost you money to be able to collect on the prize? I would say usually not. I've never won anything that I actually had to pay to be able to get it. Now, I know on some of the game shows that you win on the game shows and you get fabulous prizes that you're going to have to pay taxes, but that's kind of a different thing. So again, if they're saying that you've won something, this is coming in through the mail, this is coming in through your email, this could even be a phone call. What they're doing is, again, they're phishing for your personal information. So you want to question it, right? You want to question it. You can always, if it's on a phone call, just say, hey, do you have a number that I can call you back tomorrow? I'm in the middle of something. But you always want to check that. Okay. Charity scams are fraudsters pose as charities to solicit donations, diverting funds for personal use. Okay. I personally think that this is lower than low to disguise yourself as a charity, collect the money, and then they spend it for themselves. But I've seen it happen. I've heard about it happen. It's not good. But again, if you're getting these messages, somebody's calling you, do a little bit of background checking to find out who's behind it. Right now, understand that we have countries in the world where they have, it could even be in the US, but where they have call centers set up of people just making these phone calls, right? They may not have any accent. You may not be able to tell that, but that's what they're doing, is they are trying to get personal information, credit card information, anything like that. Tech support scams. Okay, what are tech support scams? Tech support scams are fake tech support agents. They claim to fix non-existent problems, and they're stealing money or information. So I had something happen to me in the last few months, and it had to do with tech support. It was on my computer. I can't even remember how this thing popped up. I was having a problem. Somebody knew I was having a problem, and I ended up getting on the phone with them. And they wanted to, at one point, they were going to take over my screen. It felt funny, right? So I would say number one is trust your gut. What is your gut telling you? And if this doesn't seem right, and so they were going to transfer me to somebody else. It wasn't even the person on the phone there. And they said they will take over your computer, do what they need to do. And, if you sit there for, I think I had to sit here for 30 minutes or more while they did what they were doing. So when they were switching me over, I hung up. I hung up the phone, right? And don't be afraid to do that. If it feels funny, if it feels weird, and I may have missed a bullet, because what could have happened was when they transferred me over to somebody else, they could have been basically taken every single thing off my computer. So I didn't do it. And as I was sitting there thinking, I was just like, what could go wrong? What could go wrong? And I thought, oh my gosh, I've got lots of data. I've got lots of information. I don't want to lose. And what if it was something to do with a ransomware or something? So I'm very careful now. I'm usually very careful about how I keep track of my stuff. And I do have backups in the cloud, because if something happened, let's just say I dumped a soda in the middle of my computer, somebody took over my computer. Could I be shut down as a business because I don't have access to my files, or I've been locked out of my email? So just want to be careful about that. Anything that seems like a tech support scam. So you can use some of these and combine them together and say, well, can a tech support scam be a phishing scam? And the answer is yes. So I've had on more than one occasion an email from Best Buy. Nothing against Best Buy. I've used them most of my life, but it's talking about Geek Squad and renewing my membership. And I haven't been with Geek Squad in a while, but what was happening was I'd get an email and it was like, we're going to auto renew this for, $397. Well, one, I knew that it didn't cost that, right? But when I checked the email of who it came from, it had a name, but it was not from Best Buy. So your best defense is always looking to see the source of who it's coming from. And if it doesn't feel comfortable, then don't do anything. The other thing is, when I get something like that and they have a phone number for me to call, I never use the phone number in the email. And you say, well, why wouldn't you use the phone number in the email? Because if it's fraudsters that are emailing you, wouldn't we think that they'd also have a fraudulent phone line? And I would say, yes, they're trying to get you to call their people. Their people are posing as who you think they are, but they're not really. So questions like that, if it's some sort of renewal, if it has to do with a bank, if it has to do with a credit card, I call the company directly. The other thing is, if I see something come in and it doesn't, just the title doesn't look right and I haven't opened it, I will open that on my phone instead of opening it on my computer. Just the same idea, extra level of security to say, if I open it on my computer, am I opening myself up to something bad happening. But anyway, that's what I do to kind of protect myself. So tips to stay safe. What can you do about this? Well, the very first one is verify the source. I've said that a couple times on this conversation. And number one, in the email, even if the logos, if everything looks right, just see who specifically did that come from. Look at the arrow, you can see who that is. So this often can have like a funky name, funky characters. It can look exactly right, except they forgot or added one letter to the name. So easy enough, if you go and look, it's easy enough to buy domains that are one letter off of some of the most famous brands in the world. So that's my number one thing, is that. Number two is use strong passwords. I have started using a password keeper. There's a lot of them out there. The one that I know of is Dashlane. I like Dashlane because you can have multiple family accounts in there. And they've also got an auto password generator. So I'm not getting anything for promoting Dashlane, but I think the tool is interesting. I can use it on my phone. I can use it on any computer that I have, as long as I have that master password. And the key thing there is just remembering the master password. So, I travel, sometimes I travel internationally. And what's nice is I don't want to take a notebook that's got all this information in there that could be lost in my luggage or something else. I want to be able to have access to it. So I like that. I like the auto generator. I also like that they can tell me when there have been hacks with certain companies, especially if I've got a password with them, and when I should change that. So I think that's pretty handy. I've been doing that for the last couple of years. Monitor your accounts. Oh, one last comment on use strong passwords. Use strong passwords, right? I'm not talking 15-letter encryption, but I'm talking about not using the same password on every single thing that you do. And just making sure, I always make sure I've got a capital letter, a small letter, some sort of character, and it's not the same all the time. So again, if you've got some sort of password keeper, it's a little bit easier to keep track of. And for heaven's sakes, don't write all the stuff down and stick it someplace, especially if somebody could get hold of that. Okay. So let's see. Monitor your accounts. Talked about that. Looking at your bank statements, looking at your credit card statements. I'd say on a quarterly basis at a minimum, and even better if you can do it more often. So we're not looking for every penny. We're just looking for things that look different and off. Okay. And again, if you see that, you're going to call the credit card company, and you're going to talk to the fraud department, and they will help you deal with it. Okay. Let's see. To be skeptical of too good to be true offers. There are some great offers out there, no question. There's more offers now than there's ever been, I think, in the history of anything. But just make sure before you give them your information that you've done a little background on them. One other comment on this, when we say too good to be true offers, if I'm ordering something online, things like that, I use PayPal a lot. And PayPal, I can have my credit card, main credit card numbers in PayPal. But when I pay by PayPal, that credit card number doesn't really go to the vendor, right? It's got extra security to that. So if I'm ordering something online and I haven't ordered it before from the company, even the stuff through Amazon, I do all of that using PayPal. Okay, so educate yourself and others. Anything that you learn along the way. I know, as medical professionals, you guys share a lot of information, but when you hear about a scam, tell people about it, right? Because the same person that's working next to you or your neighbor may fall victim to the same thing, and they may not outsmart it before it happens. Okay, so using security software is the last item on this list, and Norton is one of those. There's different companies out there, and again, they're monitoring things that are going on with your computer. I highly recommend that. LifeLock has got some things too as far as interception. So just, we want you to be diligent. We want you to stay as safe as possible. And a key point on the bottom here is, remember, just because you do all these things, right? So I do all these things and you do your homework, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen to you. So you may remember at the beginning, I talked about that once a year, I have a credit card that gets hacked. It's usually the same card. I've got multiple cards with the same company through Chase. This one card for some reason seems to get hacked. I don't know why. And it usually shows up as some sort of subscription in a name that looks like it would be tied to my business. But I'm like, I don't remember that. And what they're doing is they're trying that a couple times before they ring in something much bigger. So I haven't had that happen, But if it does, you're going to call the credit card company and try and get on top of that. So again, remember, just because you do the stuff doesn't mean that something's not going to happen. So you look at this nice happy family picture here, and we've got 4 people in a family, including very young, all on devices. So the question is, if your kids are using your devices, what kind of protection do you have that keeps them out of stuff that you don't want to be hacked? Okay, you may want to check that out. So are you ready to take control of your financial future? Learn more to optimize your money by watching our masterclass, How to Avoid the 9 Money Mistakes That Medical Professionals Make. I gave this presentation a few months ago at a medical symposium in San Diego. Really well received, lots of positive feedback, and the main question was, why hasn't anybody ever told us this before? Good question. This information is not out there in the mainstream. You need to know it, and I want to get it in front of as many people as I possibly can. So go to www.medmoneymistakes.com. That's medmoneymistakes.com. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.